people on the street and people who are in the comments, they want to know is what's going on with Donald Trump's health, what's going on with his hand, why is it bruised, what's going on with his ankles. They don't think he looks well, even this weekend. I was not in Washington, but this weekend when he was at the U.S. Open, people said he did not look well.
Well, what do you think that blue thing was he had between his teeth?
I don't know. It was a blue pill, but I think it was the wrong shape, right?
Well, I immediately leapt to, he's got Viagra. What's happening here? But it's the wrong shape. Viagra, I think it's a diamond, and that looked more like a sort of, what is the shape?
Could be an Altoid or something. I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
There are blue Altoids, are there? It looked medical. I
don't know what it is. People are musing and assuming, some folks, that it's Adderall, right?
Is Adderall blue?
I have no idea. I don't do Adderall.
I can't even imagine you doing Adderall. You'd be like flying around the room. Yeah, you'd be flying around the room. What do you think's going on with his health?
This is my opinion. I think that he is sicker than the administration is letting on to. Mm-hmm. And by evidence only, history is the evidence, because I remember being on the air and being the first to report that Donald Trump and Melania Trump had COVID. And when Donald Trump walked out of the White House to walk to Marine One and then go on to the hospital, he looked terrible, but he was sicker than we knew, and no one told us about it. And there's nothing that leads me to believe that they would be more transparent about it now. So, look, Donald Trump is almost 80 years old. And if you get older, things start to happen to you. Yep. I think I just had my mom. She came to visit for 2 months. And I noticed, observed her. She's 83 years old now. She's not, and she will admit, I'm not the person that I was even 5 years ago. And so once you get to be a certain age, it's just natural. I mean, things start to happen. So I think he's probably sicker than they're letting on. And I wish there was more transparency, because this administration seems to be more concerned about Joe Biden's, alleged cognitive issues, and he's not even in office anymore. And I think they should be more, transparent about Donald Trump's issues.
Do you think the White House press corps should be pressing Caroline Leavitt on it more? On
that and everything. I do, of course.
How is she doing, do you think, Caroline Leavitt?
I can't watch live. I can only watch the clips, because it's so infuriating and frustrating, because they don't allow people to push back in a significant manner. They want to move on quickly. She'll say, Joanna, and then you'll ask a question, and then she just sort of either lies about it or obfuscates or deflects, and then she goes, Bob, and you're like, whoa, wait. And then if people are afraid to get out of line I have a follow-up. And I believe the next person, if you aren't allowed, Joanna, to follow up on something that's very important, I think the next journalist should say, why don't you answer my colleague's question? Right. But they don't do that. So I think they should be pressing her about a lot of things, about Donald Trump's health. We shouldn't be able to see the records, so to speak, because we know, I think it was Randy Jackson, whatever the doctor was, or he's as healthy as a horse.
Jackson.
Ronnie Jackson.
Right. Randy Jackson
is a Jackson 5.
But that would
Michael
be fine
Jackson,
too. I was going to say, isn't Randy Jackson the guy who was on, wasn't it Randy Jackson who was on
Randy Jackson was on American Idol. Yeah, Dog. And then Randy Jackson was Michael Jackson's brother. Right. I think Randy's the youngest. So, but I think they should be pressing her on a lot of things. I would just like a little bit more follow-up. The thing that I've learned, though, honestly, is that nothing really comes out of that briefing room. That's all theater. That's all a show that they plan every day. And Caroline Leavitt is a perfect character, because she never really answers any questions. She infuriates people, and she frustrates the folks who are watching at home enough to where they're like, right? And it's like a character you hate, like a housewife show or whatever. Right. Or, how people hated Joan Collins on Dynasty or Dynasty, as you would say. And so I think it's that, but that no real news. The real news and the real journalism comes from people who are doing the on-the-ground, gumshoe, investigative reporting. That is just theater. And so, if I happen to be a Washington-based correspondent, I don't even know if I would want to be in the press corps in that manner. But I would certainly like to be able to go to those briefings every day if I could hold her to account.
Well, you applied for a press pass. Last time I saw you, you just applied for a press pass. I'm assuming you've gotten nowhere with it.
No.
Right.
They let in a lot of new media, a lot of independent journalists, and usually they're the conspiracy theory types. I don't know if I can even name Benny Johnson, who I'm just beginning to know his work. I didn't know him before the.
Well, they have Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend in there.
Right, that guy who, come on. So, but they won't let me in because I guess they're nervous about someone actually challenging Caroline Leavitt and or the president.
Yep. Okay, well, that's well, you're challenging him from your platform on YouTube, which is, frankly, bigger than your former platform at CNN.
Well, is it bigger? In a different way it is. I think
Well, I think your audiences
yes.
for your certain show, I mean, when I've looked at the numbers, they seem certainly competitive to the shows on CNN in terms of viewership.
As you know, you're in this business. Not everything hits. Some things get a huge amount of views. Some things get none. It just depends on the algorithm that day, the zeitgeist, what people are doing. But I think we're doing well, and I think that for me, it's relevance. I think that my channel is very relevant right now, and the IRLs, or the on-the-street things, showed me that people love that we're doing that. We were coming back from D.C. on Friday, and I said, let's stop in Baltimore. The president says he wants to send armed troops or National Guard members to Baltimore, to Maryland.
And Wes Moore, the governor, had invited him, and said, come and do a walk around.
Yeah, come and check it out. So I went to one of the roughest neighborhoods in Baltimore and did an IRL, and people had different, and these were mainly black people. And some of them said, I want the National Guard to come. And others said, no, I don't think it's necessary. And they were also surprised and shocked that I would show up in this neighborhood because most people are afraid to go there.
Right.
The response, though, I found interesting because people said, some of the right-wing folks and conspiracy theorists said, not the answers that Don Lemon wanted. Yeah, it is the answer that I want. I want to hear from everyone. So, for those of you who are writing that, you have no idea what you're talking about. I want to know what people are saying. But on the way back, I did that, and then we were driving back to New York, doing a live show, and then I stopped at Cracker Barrel for the first time. I'd never gone, considering the controversy.
Right.
So I'm at Cracker Barrel, and I get a call saying, are you in Baltimore? We see that you're in Baltimore. And I said, well, I just left. And they said, well, there is a 5 o'clock press conference with the governor, the mayor, and the senator. We would like for you to be there. Since you took us on Donald Trump's offer to come, and you actually did, why don't you come? And we had to hightail it back. They held the press conference for us for 15, 20 minutes, and I got to actually interview the governor, the mayor, and the senator live. No national press there, barely any local people.
Interesting. What an interesting journalistic approach to doing it, too.
Yeah.
So you go there, you put it out there, they see it. Because people are obviously watching, and then they're like, whoa, we need to engage in it. It's very interesting. So
relevance. That's what I think we're more relevant in a way than my old place.
Well, and also if you'd been at a big network, the effort and the energy, that would have taken 3 weeks to organise, right? The fact that you could just hightail it back, and they were like, let's do it now. Feels like certain politicians are getting with the programme. Clearly Gavin Newsom. I wanted to talk to you about what you thought of the way that Gavin Newsom really is cutting through at this point.
I think it's brilliant. I hope it's lasting, because people get excited about things, especially on social media, right, on digital media, and then, it's gone, right? Because the news cycle moves so quickly and people's interests change. But I think what he's doing is brilliant. And, I know Gavin Newsom when he interviewed Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, and in my opinion, I felt that he didn't push back enough. I contacted him and I said, what are you doing? And he explained to me what he was doing, and and I've been trying to get an interview. His people won't allow it so far. They keep saying, "Oh yeah, we haven't forgotten about you," but and I don't think they're afraid of a challenge. But I'm just surprised that they haven't come on. So Gavin Newsom, Governor, come on.
And also, I would say, Steve Bannon, we've invited you on the Daily Beast podcast. You said you were going to come on. You said you loved the Daily Beast, and then we haven't been able to organise the time.
Right?
Okay.
Hold them to account.
Yeah.
And Charlie
Hold
Kirk
them
and all
to
that, I'm sure you
account.
would like to talk to them.
Charlie Kirk, I haven't thought about talking to.
So I think what he's doing is brilliant. I think it's for me, it's fascinating to watch the MAGA cult members make fun and right-wing media make fun of Gavin Newsom and say, oh my God, he's got to have more command and he's got to be more professional and live up to his office, when all he's doing is the exact same thing that Donald Trump is doing. And Donald Trump is the leader of the free world. They have a different standard for Donald Trump, the leader of the free world, than they do for the governor of a state in the country. So,
and who knows, he may well become president or leader of the free world, right? That's what all this is leading to. I thought him calling the patio, as we know, Donald Trump has concreted over, cemented over Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden with his patio, and Gavin Newsom called it the pedo patio, which immediately everybody I knew was kind of frantically tweeting and liking.
Yeah, I thought
that was a good one.
I think it's a good one, and I do think, I'll say this, excuse me, pardon me, I do think that Democrats should take a lesson from Gavin Newsom. They appear to be, and I don't want to be too hard on Democrats, but let me be hard on Democrats.
Right.
They do appear to be afraid of their own shadow, and they don't really know what to do in this moment. And I think the correct thing to do is to lean in, because there's nothing that you can do that is worse than 34 criminal counts, or being in the Epstein files and having reportedly the FBI agents, the Justice Department having FBI agents redact your name from it. There's nothing worse than that. So I think they need to lean in, because people want a democracy. People care about a democracy. People care about the First Amendment. People care about due process. And so I don't think that you should, when my mentor and would always tell me, and one of the best
who was
bosses
your
that
mentor?
And when I was at CNN, in the latter part of it, it was Jeff Zucker. And he taught me never to judge a news story, just to report on the story. So never to judge what is happening. I think the Democrats are judging, and they think that they're better than the news story. And I don't want to, I don't want to have my hands in this.
Go low.
I don't want to go low. You've got to go wherever it takes you. And you have to remember, this isn't about you and your stature and your respectability. This is about fighting for the American people.
Okay, so let me ask you something.
And the American people want you to fight right now, whether that means going to the crust of hell. That's what they want. And people are like, I can't do that. That's not who I am. Well, it better be, or you're going to lose your position.